So on my end, from my observation, this same criminal network, hate group, demonic cult and coven of clowns and bullies and weirdo stalkers, they trim back the tree line so they have all their clowns and participants hiding from different angles and different trajectories, right? And they're, watching from different angles. And me, it's no secret that I have not been shy about defending myself and documenting and archiving these same bullies and clowns, right? And it's no different now. I still document and archive every participant within this criminal network and hate group. When I have the time and I feel like it and the energy, I do what needs to be done, and I document and I archive the various participants using the harmful frequencies, the energy weapons, etc. What they're attempting to do is spin the truth, twist the truth, and make it seem, or create a false narrative, as they've always have tried to do. But they have more of an emphasis on trying to create false narratives these days. You have to understand, when a criminal network, a hate group, is trying to cover their tracks and prevent the truth from coming out, they will spin the truth and try to cover their tracks at all costs by creating false narratives. The same individuals who were the offenders, right? The same criminals who committed the atrocities will become the ones who cry foul and begin to play victim. And that's what we're experiencing now. This is a criminal organization. They do not get any sympathy or empathy whatsoever. They've committed the most heinous, atrocious, diabolical, wicked, and evil actions and deeds, all the way through attempting to sacrifice and unalive innocent people. That is on top of, in conjunction with, blocking and interfering with their love life, their ability to support themselves, preventing people from coming together, being in union, matrimony, business, partnerships, relationships, um, lying on them, defaming them, getting them fired from their employment and jobs, driving them into isolation, into homelessness. So whatever false narratives these clowns and devils attempt to create, it doesn't matter, right? This is why I continuously reiterate that spiritual law, the laws of the divine, the universe, far supersede man-made laws, because man-made laws, you know, have loopholes and failures. Depending on the criminals that are placed into various positions, titles, and seats that are part of the same criminal networks and organizations, are sellouts and clowns. Those who swear oath on the surface but violate it from day one. They are able to turn a blind eye and participate with the corrupt systems, thereby ensuring that those who deserve justice don't get it. They never receive it because of the people that they allow to sit in these seats or swear these oaths of office and be placed in these positions. And this is true on every level, every facet of society: conservatory staff, green space staff, clergy, community leaders, political figures, public servants, you know, supervisors and directors at shelters and community centers, security, all the way down to security at libraries and or security at these community centers and churches who provide services for the public. If you can get 9 out of 10 people to sell their soul, acquiesce their soul, to join this fake secret group, fake because they're wide out in the open, any honest effort from honorable, reputable law enforcement can do wonders at exposing these people, their unhinged, comfortable behavior, stalking, harassing, bullying, the use of sleepy frequencies, infiltrating the transit systems, infiltrating, the green spaces, hiding behind their own children as cowards, using their children as props, cutting down trees in their natural habitat, right? Cutting down trees for the sake of having the convenience to do unlawful surveillance, illegal surveillance, cutting down the poor trees that's already home in its natural environment. What will be the use and the purpose of cutting down the trees in its natural habitat other than a criminal network, a hate group, a dark cult and coven commissioned and paid to harass and stalk and conduct unlawful surveillance, attempting to win at all cost, even if it means creating a false narrative and following them to the places they frequent to maintain their peace, to remain centered and grounded. And these devils send in their flying monkeys and clowns, their weirdo stalkers with the noise campaigns and the distractions and the disturbances as the weak-minded sellouts that they are. And so what you have is these flying monkeys that'll pop up as soon as you start recording to do their job as the sellouts and clowns that they are. And so that's to be expected. And so this is the reason why everything is to be archived and documented, even if they try to spin it, even if they try to make it seem like, this is something you just started doing just for the sake of, you know, recording people just for the sake when you've been documenting and recording. And in fact, when they orchestrate the very accidents that you as, truck drivers or delivery service individuals, right, who probably unfortunately was found yourself in a situation, had it not been for you documenting, archiving, and recording your experience, you would not have been able to show the real truth on what take place and what happened with this criminal network and hate group. Such is the case in my situation back in February when they orchestrated a second accident when I finally pulled myself out of the shelter, pulled myself up again, went back over the road. These devils tried to repeat exactly, these unhinged devils tried to repeat what they did in 2024 when they created an accident, then lied and said it was my fault. The truck I was on in 24 had cameras not only, in the cab facing the driver and the road, but it also, had side cameras on the actual truck to be able to watch both lanes, right and left lane. The state trooper, in all her 20 years experience, said that she understands that the individual lied because there's no way that a truck driver would come directly over on a four-wheeler vehicle without completely turning it into a sardine can. But the lie that was told was that, the truck just came directly over and the person was sitting next to the truck the whole time. But the truth was, the truck driver, in his professionalism, checked his mirrors, did everything professionally, signaled, got out, began to merge, successfully merged, and the vehicle behind decided to fly from all the way behind and made the personal choice of running into the rear trailer tire. This is while being stalked, federal stalking across state lines. This is the truth that they tried to spin. This is while being consistently federally, committing federal stalking across state lines from Georgia to South Carolina and the many other states. The whole group boxing in the truck, surrounding the truck rather, impeding the truck's movement, and the truck driver being professional to be safe for not only themselves but also those around them, in spite of them attempting to create hardships and accidents. This is the truth in a corrupted society that turns a blind eye when this type of abnormal, unhinged behavior is taking place. So they try to reconstruct the same thing that they did in 2024 in 2025, or should I say in 2026. But this time around, the truck driver had his own camera system. And because the truck driver had his own camera system, he was able to prove that They sent in an individual that drove kamikaze style into the truck, impeding the truck's movement, try to repeat, because why? Well, a part of the mentality of the clowns and idiots that quarterback and puppeteer this group, they don't want people driven into isolation to be able to pull themselves out and support themselves. They want to be able to keep people isolated without making money to be able to support themselves. In their mind, isolation is the key. Homelessness is the key to be able to keep a person down so they can continuously harvest their energy, lie on their name, force their defamation and lies that they've been spreading and telling throughout the community to be the truth. Right? If a person is supporting themselves, taking care of themselves as they always have done through the years until this criminal network and hate group popped up, then that puts a complete end to all the lies that they told. That this person is incompetent, incapable, mentally unstable. They can't support themselves. Where did that lie come from? That only came when you have idiot exes and family members and complete strangers who came into the fray, who spent this narrative in order to steal and cover their tracks of what they stole that don't belong to them. Corrupt attorneys and magistrates who all work together to cover up the truth on what they stole, and recruited a whole bunch of idiots and weak-minded sellouts in the community, mostly people with addictions and strongholds. Individuals who will sell their own mama out for chump change. These are the people they love recruiting, by the way. Recruit a whole bunch of individuals to help support them spread the lie in the community. And no one the wiser to do any type of fact checking, investigating, taking the investigation serious, sending out an investigator, not one of the corrupt ones that's a part of this criminal organization, but one of the ones that, really trying to get to the bottom of the truth. Not one of the ones that's working with this criminal organization, right? Because they'll be seen through as well based on how they pretend and act in the questions they ask. They'll be seen through as well. But, all of this has transpired and taken place. And again, had it not been for the truck driver having his own camera, when they orchestrated the same event they tried to do in 2024 and 2026, in February to be exact, it was nasty. It was terrible. It was bad. They shut down the highway. Ambulance, EMTs showed up. They was quick to blame it on the truck driver with limited information. Not having the video, was explained that there was a video. The officer was told that there was a video, but the video wasn't readily available. So the truck driver sat on it till they was able to find an attorney. And once that video was submitted, it was shown, and the attorney responded, "Thank you." A few days later, case was dismissed. But in the interim, can you imagine this criminal organization and the cowards that quarterbacked them pretty much felt like, oh man, we finally did it. We finally ruined this person's reputation and a career, and we about to get a large payout off of this company. We're gonna unlawfully, unjustifiably get a huge payout because the truck driver is incompetent and the truck driver created this whole fiasco. But the truck driver is the actual victim of being stalked and harassed and followed and pursued, with no checks and balances, with no one standing up for the truck driver, no one investigating, no one taking the situation serious. That, hey, not even the own company, the different branch of it, because, when it was stated a few years prior with Ground or Line Haul, please check the cameras because I have a large group following me, stalking me at night during the wee hours of the morning because I had the overnight shift at the time. They're turning the wee hours of the morning into rush hour. Nobody listened. right? In fact, they told me stop pushing the alarm buttons on the camera because you're setting off too many alarms. But we're told the reason why they invade our privacy, a truck driver, and have the truck driver facing cameras is for safety reasons. And yet, when it was necessary to review the cameras, they said stop pushing the button. You're setting off too many alarms. But then they had the nerve and the audacity to call and say, why are you going off track? Why are you going off script? Why are you going off route? Why are you taking the back roads? Because I'm trying to be responsible and safe for everybody. And I have these idiots and clowns and this hate group stalking me and harassing me, impeding my movement. And I'm trying to do my job, pick up my load, deliver my load responsibly on time. For if it's not for truck drivers, this country doesn't move. It's truck drivers that get your food and your clothing and your bulletproof vests, etc., safely delivered to and where it gotta go, your ammunitions, your munitions, your livestock. It's truck drivers, that's the heartbeat of the nation. And yet they don't get the proper respect that they are owed and deserved and due. But with that being said, I was being responsible in my thinking and said, let me just get off and take the back roads to avoid this group of bullies and clowns, this hate group. But I was met with a call from the very corporation and company that I work for, admonishing and telling me, why are you going off route? Because I need you all to check the cameras to see that I have this hate group and criminal network and organization stalking, harassing, bullying every night. And they've even infiltrated your offices because the very same cars and license plates is now parked in the same parking lot where you guys and supervisors park. So obviously it's an inside job and somebody sold the driver out and is participating, yet pretending like they don't understand what's going on. Yeah. And so as a result, ladies and gentlemen, as we come up on another flying monkey and participant in this hate group and criminal network, there was a need to have my own recording camera because I knew that they was trying to set me up. And sure enough, as they did in 2024, where they had one of their flying monkeys and devils intentionally, willingly, and willfully drive into the real trailer tire, and the state trooper said, "Sir, I understand." She said, "I've been doing this for 20 years. If this person who was really on the side of you, as they claim, they would have been a sardine can." And she said, "I'm not going to write it up as this visual is your fault or their fault. I'm going to let the companies and the attorneys handle it." But guess what? This whole time, years go by, and I'm thinking she's true to her word. I find out, because if she wasn't, of course I would have, been able to battle it, fight it, whatever. So I'm not thinking none the wiser. And then come to find out this whole time she lied and she wrote it up as if it was my fault. And I've been reporting it every time I go to get a job. I've been reporting it that it was an accident, but there was no citation. It was not my fault. She told me that on the spot, on the location, turned around and betrayed my trust in what she said and wrote it up as if it was my fault. Crazy, right? So recently, like I said, when I tried to go back over the road and find employment, the very company Wayne Stewart, I think her name is Sarah or Susan. I want to say Sarah. She participated in lying and defaming my character and my reputation by claiming that a situation, an incident that had long been settled, tried to go back and rewrite history, rewrite the truth of what took place, and try to say that I caused the incident when people called to verify my employment and the accident that happened with the workers' comp situation. She took it upon herself that, said, oh yeah, he was the one that was unsafe. He was the one that caused the incident on the yard back in 2022. Not it was the yard shifter who ran into the truck. Not even that it was recorded on the in the, on the camera in the truck at the time that showed everything. Not that all the supervisors from ground and residential came out apologizing to me, the driver. Not that they sent her home immediately, told her she's relieved of her duty, she have to leave. They clearly stated that, she was being reckless. Not that, but after years later, trying to rewrite and change the story. This is real shit. And say, oh, yeah, it was his fault. He did it on the yard. Not that I was dropping my trailers for that Friday evening and leaving to go home or exit the facility, the terminal, the FedEx terminal in Cobb County and Kennesaw, and she was hanging out on the side of me. And then as soon as I start moving my bobtail, after I dropped two trailers, I had double trailers, dropped my dolly, I was getting ready to leave. As soon as I was getting ready to leave, she sprung past me with a 53-foot trailer, and she bust that turn without giving herself enough space, just came directly over. And when I tell you, her trailer caught the passenger side of the bobtail of my truck, and she did not stop until after the truck was underneath her trailer, the passenger side. That's when she decided to use the brake. In other words, she ripped off damn near the passenger side of the bobtail. Her driving did that. I had already stopped, put my brakes on when she made contact, when she flew past me and decided to bust that close turn without giving herself enough space. I had already applied the brakes, and there was even a video of me showing my shock and all, like, damn, you driving like that in the terminal, on the yard, on a Friday like that? So close to another vehicle, another truck rather? and and when all the pictures was taken, you could see that the trailer was on top of the truck and everything was ripped off from the mirror. Everything was bust up and hanging loose and on the ground, and the truck was underneath her trailer. And you could see all of this, and many pictures was taken. And then you had the supervisor at the time, Justin Stewart, who dealt with Lion Hall, who thought it was funny. When I said, I'm gonna go to the emergency, he kind of giggled or, made a gesture as if I was faking when I told him, I didn't feel right because that incident, caused a jerk and a spasm, and I felt it almost immediately in my neck and my shoulders and lower back. And for some reason, um, through the years leading up into that moment, people was like, running into my vehicle. And I had several instances where I would go to the same doctor, Dr. Thomas, for ICA. I would go to Dr. Thomas through the years for, similar situations, but this one was worse than all of them, right? And so I felt it immediately. He thought I was making it up and looking for an excuse and a reason not to continue to have a great work ethic and be a good worker. He wanted me to just switch the trucks out, put my stuff in another truck, and get back to work the next day. That's what Justin was expecting. This is the same person, by the way, who I mentioned in the EEOC cover-up video, who had told me his grandfather was the founder of Wayne Stewart Trucking, and that he had asked his grandfather, or practically begged him, to teach him the business and help him become a successful truck business owner, and how his grandfather was a multi-millionaire, very extremely wealthy and rich and successful in trucking, but also successful as a retired military, high-ranking personnel who still had connections and high clearance and favoritism with, the military. And all of these things he was telling me on the yard one day, and I didn't know, the significance and why it would matter later on, and the reasons why, you know, active military and retired veterans would end up stalking me and committing federal stalking and using energy weapons and harmful frequencies and trying to affect my overall health and well-being. And why that the initial license plates that started popping up around me when I started my workers' comp situation was directly out of Tennessee, which is where Wayne Stewart Trucking was originally founded and out of, and where the Stewart family was out of and lived in Tennessee, the state of Tennessee. I didn't know why all this would serve as significantly, appropriate and necessary later on down the line when I had to file a EEOC for them being biased and prejudiced towards me and withholding, being cruel and withholding the disability that they had already agreed to pay and dragging their feet and allowing me to get the rehab and the services that I needed, and even scheduling the MRI and the x-rays, and being unusually cruel and not scheduling the MRI, initial MRIs and x-rays. And then when they finally did, if you know anything about workers' comp, you cannot use your own doctors or go to your own doctors. You have to wait on the company, their attorney who works with the adjuster. The adjuster and the attorney work hand in hand for Wayne Stewart or whichever company it is. So it's in effect all one, right? You have to wait for them to make the arrangements to use their doctors. They get to say who they want you to go to. So when they finally did send me to their doctor said, yes, there's a problem here. We got to get you into therapy right away. We can see it right here. And then when they get you to therapy do their initial, um, questionnaire and diagnosis and things like that. And they were like, yeah, based on, the movement and the lateral movement and stuff we asking you to do and the questions we ask you, we can definitely see that your candidate is a problem. There's an issue here. Everybody across the board and even with therapy, you can't even choose your own, facility to do therapy. They have to choose it. So every place that they picked, that their adjuster picked, all unanimously was in agreement that yes, there's a problem here. But yet they was dragging their feet. And this was all the deciding factors on them being cruel, unusually cruel, and, mistreating the process that led up to me saying, man, I need to do something here. They got me unnecessarily, unjustifiably sleeping in my car, breaking down on the side of the interstate. It's freezing, you know, because after the situation in June that had led all the way up June, July, August, September, October, November, December, it started hitting the winter months, y'all. And they still hadn't begun paying me my disability, and I was sleeping in my vehicle when I didn't have to, and my car was breaking down. And of course, as a truck driver, I couldn't go back over the road, so I could only do DoorDash. But how can you do DoorDash when your car is breaking down? I can only deliver pizza, but how can you deliver pizza when you keep having car trouble? And then you're forced to sleep in your vehicle during a freezing winter. Cruel, yo. And they had agreed to pay disability, and they hadn't done it. They was dragging their feet, being cruel, and having an issue. And so when I contacted the EEOC, that was an experience in of itself. You read the reviews on how people complained about how the EEOC, specifically here in Atlanta and Georgia, would side with the corrupt companies and employers and sweep your case under the rug or disprove of your case. And that made me immediately spring into action to, okay, I need to get somebody on the phone, email, whatever. So I followed through. I kept talking to EEOC representatives that continuously escalated the issue to have a supervisor or somebody contact me, and why I waited patiently for all the, expiration deadlines for somebody to reach out, never received any, communication. They continuously, I called back, they said, if you don't receive communication by such and such day and you wait to that day, expiration day, give us a call back. I did that. I did that at least 4 or 5 times. And then finally, we was able to finally track down somebody in the city of Atlanta who was a supervisor who was able to finally conduct an interview concerning Wayne Stewart and their cruel, unusual behavior and biasness. And even with EEOC, you just don't file a complaint and they say, okay, yeah, we'll take your case. They have to interview you, ask you a series of questions to see if you are reputable or if your situation is, deserving of approving an EEOC. And sure enough, when I went through the process, they asked the questions they needed to ask, and I answered what I needed to answer. They said, you're approved. Send us this document. We're going to reach out to Wayne Stewart. And from that point, they went to work to ensure that no attorney or lawyer would accept or assist me. Everybody I contacted turned me down, made up excuses. Oh, I'm going on vacation. Oh, I can't do it. Or this and that. Or babe, try. I mean, everybody. It was almost as if everybody got the script. Don't help this guy. And so it was swept under the rug because of simultaneously, you know, losing phones, and they're blocking, my communications and emails, access to emails and Facebook, blocking me from getting in. As we come up on another flying monkey and clown in this criminal organization and hate group, demonic cult and coven, let's let the flying monkey get up a little bit. Weirdo stalker. Okay, so even as we I was losing access to my what's the names. I would, CC the FBI and say, yo, you know, I did everything I could, you asked me to do as far as getting sending you my ID. This is my Facebook account because I had started out exposing so much truth concerning this group. So they use their contacts to try to silence me from posting and blocking me out of the page. They say, you lose access, send your ID. I do that. They say, oh, we can't confirm your identity. I do it again. Oh, we can't confirm your identity. And they don't have another method for you to get back into you know what I'm saying? And whatever method they had was exhausted. But they made sure that a whole profile with people I know and people that have screenshots, and I have screenshots. And then I decided to CC the FBI because prior to that, in 2023, I went and sat down with an agent and explained to him what was going on. And I told him about this group. And he said, thank you. If we have any questions, we'll get in touch with you. Prior to that, and that was done in Connecticut, but prior to me going to New Haven, Connecticut, I had went to Chamblee, Georgia. And the same criminal network, hate group, comfortably convoy style, was riding past the FBI headquarters in Chamblee. Some of them even pulled over across the street, others directly near the duty station and was parking in the parking lot. That's when I said, you know what? It's most definitely corrupt law enforcement. People who have some type of rank and file that's a part of this criminal network and organization. For them to be that comfortable driving past the FBI, because it got to that point with all the stalking, the intimidation with the vehicles, impeding my movement, trying to block me from working and doing my deliveries and doing that. I said, man, it got to be something I can do. So I went over to the FBI, and they was comfortably pulling over and pausing. You would think these motherfuckers would take off. Pew, oh, he on the FBI? Oh, pew. Nah, these motherfuckers were pulling over, chilling, going, trying to see what was being done. I said, oh, this is they definitely got some corrupt law enforcement participants in this group participating. Yeah, definitely. They comfortable. stalking you to the FBI headquarters and hanging out, chilling, and then gonna park and pull over too. All of this unlawful, illegal surveillance taking place in plain sight for everybody to see. I almost get it. Like, how do you, if you are an honorable law enforcement or agent, how do you counteract the fact that your comrades and coworkers, people that you work with in the same facilities, in different branches and departments, is corrupt and participating in this type of atrocious, wicked, and evil behavior in plain sight? And many of them saying, hey, don't help so and so. Even though so and so is innocent of whatever lie they told, don't help so and so. How do you balance that out? You know what I'm saying? And this is why in one of my videos I made, justice reform is absolutely imperative and necessary. Not get rid of the police, but justice reform. We can't have this taking place, but this is also why I say spiritual law, the law of the divine, supersedes man-made law. And when these cowards and clowns refuse to do their job or honor their oath, the divine, the beloved angels and ancestors will definitely step in. Universal law and principles that they claim they believe in will absolutely commence and take place over this criminal network and hate group and any systems that devalue the innocence of human life and their basic liberties and freedoms and ability to support themselves and take care of themselves and fight for their own freedom and justice, to not be sacrificed before their time. These devils in this hate group literally sacrifice people for inheritance, life insurance, and energy. When you deal with the esoteric or the demonic, wicked, evil aspect of the whole, witches and warlock part of this group. And let's not pretend and act like, which I'm sure by now, many law enforcement officials and agencies understand that a lot of these individuals who practice dark arts use it to beat their court cases, to circumvent being held accountable, and to even have the judge or magistrate get sick or call out or misplace paperwork, etc. I remember years ago when I was growing up in Connecticut, I heard of a big-time drug dealer that was into Santeria and other forms of dark magic, which, Santeria is not necessarily dark, but you have different practitioners, some who are positive and use it for positive, and then others who are dark, right? This one, I heard of a case where it was used to beat their court cases and to, beat, being held accountable. But somehow, some way, the investigators was able to get this person to confess that they had participated in specifically doing something to the judge and not being held accountable, and that was part of the plea. And I think the amount was like 10 million, or at least that's what somebody was telling me. 10 million, along with, admitting that, they had performed magic on the judge and on the court case in general, which a lot of these devils, that's what they do. They perform dark arts on the court cases in order to win at all costs. So who knew that these groups would surface and come to the surface, and you will see all ethnicities, age groups, and genders are part of this demonic dark cult and coven and criminal network and hate group of various flying monkeys, minions, cronies. Who knew that this was a thing other than what we saw in movies, but actually taking place in real life? You could lie on a person's character and defame them, say they're mentally unstable, claim power of attorney without them ever having a fair hearing and due process in court to defend themselves, create fake court cases around them, get a whole criminal organization to cause a smear campaign to get everybody in the community to believe lies about this individual, have their own exes and family members participate, potential partners that they could have potentially, formed a union or a bond or a connection, you know, throw them some bribes, get them to work against them and breadcrumb and gaslight. Then, when these individuals are questioned and under investigation, they throw their vagina around and they perform sexual bribes. So the corrupt, inadequate, insecure investigator who was unable to get sex on their own receives sexual favors and turns a blind eye because individuals who want to avoid being held accountable offer up sexual bribes and favors. And so now you have to take into account the delays and the distractions, right? Because of inadequate, insecure investigators and individuals who swore oath, taking sexual bribes and sexual favors and turning a blind eye. And all of this has to be taken into account. That you have these weak-minded individuals that's in the way, just muddying up the case, soiling up the case at every turn. These devils are sleeping with people that got STDs, and everything is based on looks and appearances. It looked good, I'll go ahead and dive on in and take that risk. Maybe if I cover it up, I won't get the sickness. But it is what it is. This is what we've been dealing with. This is what we had to endure. This is what we had to push through and push past with these clowns, bullies, and devils. And yet, the entire time they were warned how the tables will flip and turn and how divine law, universal law, spiritual law would balance the scales of justice.